I'm Joe Halco, Director of Community Relations for Northwestern Counseling and Support Services, and welcome to another episode of NCSS Here for You. Since 1958, Northwestern Counseling and Support Services has been providing access to high-quality services which promote healthy living and emotional well-being to the residents of Franklin and Grand Isle counties. Over the years, as the needs of the community have changed, so too have the programs and services that we make available to assist children, adolescents, adults, families, and seniors. We take our role in the community seriously and strive to provide a continuum of the highest quality services to meet the needs of individuals who at any point are struggling and seek assistance. This month's episode is titled Advocating for NCSS Services, a first-person account. The month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this show serves as part of our initiative to raise awareness about the importance of balancing mental health in conjunction with physical health to achieve well-being. Did you know that 1 in 5 people in Franklin and Grand Isle counties will experience a mental health challenge during their lifetime? Do you also realize the significant increase in substance abuse in our 2-county area? Anxiety, depression, suicide, and self-injury are also prevalent mental health disorders. In addition, for many, the result of the COVID-19 pandemic has brought incredible disruption to everyday life. Although stigma remains a barrier for many to seek treatment, those who do can achieve satisfying results that change their lives. Today on the show, my guest is one of those individuals that has found the services and supports that NCSS provides can make a difference. To discuss how NCSS has made a difference in their life, I'm pleased to introduce this month's guest, Justice, who is a mental health advocate. Justice, welcome to the program.
It's good to be here.
It is great to have you. So let's start from the beginning. I think that's probably the best place for us to go. What initially brought you to NCSS?
Well, the first time that I ever actually stepped foot into NCSS was I was about 12 years old, give or take. I had first entered foster care. Mm-hmm. And kind of one of the things that DCF has is that they kind of automatically put you into therapy. So that was kind of when I started going into therapy, and I already had a history with mental health, prior to being in state's custody. Mm-hmm. But I bounced between a lot of different, mental health places, institutions, and other things. I didn't come back to NCSS until October of 2017, mm-hmm. when I had to take a medical leave of absence from Johnson State College, which is now Northern Vermont University, mm-hmm. Because of my mental health. It got to a point where the school gave me the option of either going on a mental health medical leave, mm-hmm. or being kicked out. And I didn't want to be kicked out because I love that school. Mm-hmm. So I chose to transfer my services from Lamoille County to Franklin County. And even though I've been working with NCSS since 2017, I've kind of bounced around between different people. I've had a couple different therapists in the CRT program, which I've been with since 2017. I've had 4 case managers. I'm on my 4th one. They've all been really awesome. But 4 is my lucky number, I've come to the conclusion. I had 4 DCF workers, too. And almost as many therapists in NCSS, anyways.
Sure. Over the years is what you...
I've had a lot over the years, but specific to NCSS, mm-hmm. I've had a good amount of people. My current therapist is... my current therapist I have now, Kate, she... sorry. Can't think of words today, apparently.
That's okay.
But before her, I never really had connections with really anyone, psychiatrists, therapists, and since I was so young when I started, with mental health services in all forms. I'm 22 now. So it took years before I actually found, the perfect match, so to
Yes.
say.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Though, you make a really, really good point about something that we talk about often, which is there has to be a connection, a really good, strong connection between the individual that you're working with and yourself. And you're right, so many times, even though the way that the services are being provided and the path that you're taking is the one that makes sense, if it's not with someone that you're extremely comfortable with, you won't perhaps yield the results that, are the best. And it's really
Exactly.
exciting to hear that, that with Kate, you've got someone that you really feel you've made a tremendous connection with, and that,
Oh, yes.
should only get better over time, I
Oh,
would believe.
it definitely has. I first met Kate working on when she was on the crisis team before she became, a therapist. And I will never forget the night we actually met. We had just missed each other at Lamoille County, so it was kind of funny. But one of the first night that I had met Kate, I was in the emergency room with, SI and self-harming, all kinds of stuff, the usual things for me, which those are two normal things for me, sadly. But she essentially didn't let me get away with what I was trying to do. And, she saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself at that point. And, honestly, I hated her up until she became my therapist. Because she already knew me so well from working with me and working with the crisis team.
Yes.
We kind of had a different relationship. But then when she turned into my therapist, I was really able to be like, okay, this is what I want you to do. Don't let me sway from what I need and what I want. And she's very open to listening to what I have to say and, being able to remind me, what I want and the goals I'm trying to reach. And I've never really had a therapist who's done that for me before, because I am really good at advocating. I'm very articulate. Everyone has said that, and I don't disagree. I've been advocating since I was 15. I love it. But, the fact that, she takes the time to actually listen to what I'm saying, and, listening to what I want, I definitely think is why we have a really great connection. Plus, she never lets me get away with anything. And even if, say I'm having a bad week and I kind of, skip some things in therapy, I do eventually, talk about it. And that's just kind of how it is. I might not bring it up that week, but I always bring it up the next session. And it's definitely been very, very helpful for me. I mean, I always talk about how, I hate like DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy, because, it was pushed on to me as a kid, growing up. I had a counselor, a therapist, who was also the DBT teacher, so he was always pushing that stuff onto me. So I always say I hate it, but I use it pretty often now, and I do enjoy a lot of it. But I like that I'm able to actually joke about my own mental health stuff, and it's helpful. It is.
What's interesting in listening to you is, we, the organization, talk a lot about stigma. And you just said something that is so critical, because so often there's a group of people together and they might be talking about the fact that they're a diabetic, or they have a heart condition, or maybe a knee problem, or whatever the case may be physically. But the minute you begin to talk about anything that's brain-based, that deals with mental health, people tend to clam up. And, there are certainly no problems here, The fact of the matter is, there are. And I think one of the things that's really happened is the pandemic has really shown that there's even more individuals that are struggling with things like anxiety and depression than ever before. So for you to say what you said about recognizing and being able to, in some instances, maybe even smile about the fact, I struggle with this, but I'm dealing with this and we're moving forward is so
it's a
critical.
part of my life.
Yeah, is so critical. And the fact of the matter is that whether someone is dealing with any of the mental health disorders, it shouldn't be viewed as it's so different, it's so unusual, it only happens to them. Because the bottom line is, as I said in the opening, 1 in 5 people throughout their lifetime are going to struggle with a mental health disorder. So that's 20% right off the top. We also know there's a large number of people that won't seek treatment because of stigma. They don't want to take that first step like you did. And they're struggling, but they can't really address the underlying causes because they're not getting any kind of assistance, perhaps not even referencing a book that they could get at the library or something along those lines. So I just want to commend you for the fact that you know that you struggle and you acknowledge it and you work on it and you move forward. And that's terrific. And the fact, again, of connecting with a therapist like Kate, I think that's so great to hear.
Yeah, one thing that I'd say a lot is, I think the biggest thing that I've learned, throughout my services and, throughout my life with my mental health is that I'm always going to, have depression and anxiety. I have a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. So there's a lot of things I will always struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
And, once you come to terms with that fact, all you are essentially doing, like for me, with, going to therapy, having the talk therapy with Kate, either every week or every other week because, therapists are in a little bit of a high demand right now. And she is a great one, so. But I always talk about, with me, because I actually have my own mental health Facebook page that is called Breaking the Stigma. And on there I've talked about, learning to live with, depression, with mental health. Because for a lot of people, it'll never, go away. It'll always be there. You just have to learn how to live with it instead of trying to get rid of it. Because you're not going to be able to get rid of it. But if you can learn how to live with it in a healthy way, it kind of becomes a friend instead of an enemy. Like, that's how I've looked at it. And for me, the last this entire month has been really hard on me because I just found out my grandmother has cancer.
Sorry to hear that.
I've had a few people in my family and, close family friends pass recently. My uncle passed away, this July will be a year from cancer. And so when I found out my grandmother, had cancer, it kind of put me into like a downward spiral, I was going back into a really dark place. I'm really happy a lot of this kind of opportunities kind of came up at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I got that news. So I'm able to balance out the negative with some really awesome stuff and a lot of fun stuff for me. And, I have had rough times, I was 7 months clean from self-harm. I did have a slip-up last week. It was a small one.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to beat myself up every time I would, injure myself. Anything that was self-inflicted. But now, I don't beat myself up because I know that I'm never going to be where I was at the very beginning of this. I might take a step back or 2 steps back, but I'll never actually be at the start again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always going to be at another level up. And that's how I've learned to, live with my depression, my anxiety, everything that I have to deal with personally. And, find other ways to let it out. Like NCSS is doing Night of the Arts this year. It's virtual, so it'll be
Yes.
interesting. But I'm working on, a poem, something new. I usually do my own songs. But, I'm working on a poem, and it'll be, very, emotional. It's how I express what's going on inside me.
Sure.
So, like, this year, it's actually a tribute to NCSS.
Oh,
No one actually knows about this yet, so you're the only person who knows.
I see.
Minus
Okay,
anyone
well-
else who's watching this. But I'm in the process of writing it, and I'm really excited to see how it turns out.
Oh, that's terrific. That is great. And you're right. Night of the Arts, an annual event that has been put on by the CRT portion of our Behavioral Health Division, which typically takes place at the Bliss Auditorium, live, everybody
Yep.
there. What's interesting, though, is that for you and others who are going to be involved in Night of the Arts, you will actually be producing your segment right here. So that's kind of interesting. You have a little bit of a heads up on everybody else
Oh,
that's going to
yes,
be
I do.
involved. So that's fascinating to hear, and that's very exciting, and how nice of you to do a poem in tribute to the organization.
I mean, if it wasn't for the organization and for anyone who's worked with me over the years, I honestly don't think I would be here. I would not be the person I am today without everyone that's helped me.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think people don't understand either, which is it really takes a team, a group to help each and every one of us.
It does.
We can't do it by ourselves. Speaking of Night of the Arts, which is one of the groups, a group activity, do you also get involved in any of the other groups that NCSS provides?
Before the pandemic started, I was doing drama group. That was actually the first group I ever started here.
Yeah.
I love drama group. It's fun. It really sucked because right before the pandemic, actually hit and the lockdown and everything started, I was actually in the play we were creating. It was the first time I was actually acting.
Yes.
Usually I did all the backstage stuff
Mhm.
and helped with props. So I was really, I was actually finally able to get out of my comfort zone a little bit. But of course, it didn't happen because of the pandemic. So I was really sad about that. But I cannot wait until groups start again. Art group, I also did every once in a while. I'm not keen on big crowds, and art was a popular one.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do music group as well. They used to do kind of just call it the random group because every week it was something different. I usually went to the karaoke ones. I loved it. It was it would happen once, sometimes twice a month, depending on the month. I loved going. I've done the movie group. It all depends on what I'm in the mood for.
Sure. Well, and the thing is, there are a variety of groups that have been offered,
Oh, yes.
throughout the years. And some of them more often than others. But once again, this is an opportunity for individuals to come together and to express themselves. And I think the Night of the Arts, groups like art, drama, certainly, are great ways for individuals to express themselves.
Oh, it is, because even if you're, a shy person, because, usually before people get to know me, I am actually quite shy.
Mhm.
And, when I started, CRT groups, drama was the first one. I kind of hid in the corner and didn't really participate in anything. I kind of just watched. But then, I slowly started, joining in, and, I made friends within the groups. And, having those connections, makes it more fun.
Sure.
And, it makes kind of being able to remind yourself that, you're not alone either. Because everyone that you're in the groups with have something to do with mental health
That's right.
themselves. So you are surrounded by people who know in some way what you're going through or what I was going through specifically. And so it kind of always, the more groups you do, the more people you meet, more connections you have, the more that you're able to remind yourself that you're not alone and, in the world, you're not fighting the battle by yourself. There are people out there who are suffering as well. Because, depression, which is probably one of the biggest mental health disorders out there that is so well known, and I feel like everyone I know has it, especially this time. But, having depression, you do. It gets really, really dark and really lonely. But, going to those groups whether you want to or not. I had it where whether I said yes or no, I went.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't allowed to say no to specific groups.
Yes.
Unless I was sick or something. But, being able to, go even though I might not want to, it just kind of keeps a light on inside. And it's just one step closer to getting help, even though you might just be sitting there doing nothing. It's still that one step. It's not a big step, but it's a step.
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole peer experience, and you hit on it, is the fact that it's a reinforcement that says to you, you know what, I am not alone. And there are other individuals that are struggling with a variety of different disorders for different reasons, but everybody can help one another out. It's not unlike any other group of people that get together who have an affinity for something. There's probably, well, when you think about it, there's a lot of different types of groups that people can get involved in, depending on their circumstances. But I think all of these groups that NCSS makes available, like I said, what's really great about it, and you've hit the nail on the head, is the fact that it gives you the opportunity to spend time with others. And you said another really interesting thing, which is if somebody joins one group, they have that collective group of people that they surround themselves with. But if they branch out and join 2 or 3, inevitably there's going to be more people that they meet that they wouldn't have had they not have done that. And I think that's very important. So
It really is.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you, especially because of your journey and it started at a young age, is what would you say to those who are hesitant to seek treatment or in the past have had services but they didn't make the right connection?
Honestly, I think one of the biggest things I could say to anyone who is struggling internally or silently and not sure if they want the help or they're not sure if it's, the right time. Because honestly, even though I was part of CRT, I had a great team, I didn't want the help. And I had to hit rock bottom, like completely rock bottom, and I hit hard before I was like, okay, I need help. Because asking for help is probably one of the hardest things to do.
Mm-hmm.
But for anyone, out there who is struggling, who does need help, whether they can see it or whether people around them see it and are worried about them, it's honestly three words: I need help. And I mean, it doesn't have to really be a huge commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Even just saying it to a trusted, person, whether it's a teacher or a partner or a spouse or a coworker or a boss, someone you trust, just being like, I need help. Hopefully they're your trusted person because they'll listen to you and, they'll help you through it. But, if they are that kind of person, then maybe they'll just sit there with you and be like, what exactly do you need?
Mm-hmm.
And you can say you don't know. And, that's honestly okay. But the fact that you said those 3 words, it's definitely going to be the hardest thing out of everything. Once you say those words, it gets easier. little by little, but I don't think anyone should ever be afraid of stigma or what other people are saying or, being scared at all or fearful or worried or anything. Because once you do realize you need that help, you might realize it too late, or you might not realize it at all, and you can miss out on a lot of really amazing things. I know I would have. If I kept going the way I was going, I definitely would not be sitting here today. I would not be who I am today. So for anyone out there, it's 3 words.
And that is, takes me to, when you say talking to a trusted friend, and which you're right. NCSS provides mental health first aid training and youth mental health first aid training. We now even have a teen mental health first aid training program as well. But the point that I want to make is that what we're trying to do is, like when you mentioned teachers or others, is get community members to understand what some of the early warning signs are on various mental health disorders, so that they can be the ones who can be the trusted individual to say, Justice, I've noticed a difference in the way that you're approaching things or whatever, and be able to just sit one-on-one, all alone, comfortably, and really have a conversation about, is there anything that's really bothering you? And then that's where you come up with the 3 words that by saying I need help, then that person can try to maybe help direct to like an organization like NCSS, or maybe there's self-help books, or, a variety of ways that somebody can start the process. Mm-hmm. But the key is they've got to start the process. And until they do that, nothing will change.
It'll go unnoticed.
Yeah. So, I commend you for your advocacy work. We always talk about the whole peer aspect of mental health is so crucial, because once again, like you've had therapists that maybe you didn't connect as well with or what have you, like with Kate, and that's going to happen for people. But yet, getting that help is so critically important. But again, when you have peers who can surround one another and help one another, that is such an important aspect of the full recovery process.
It really is. I definitely think once that stigma itself is completely broken, the system itself will be a lot easier to navigate, and the fear won't be so prominent. Because that's the biggest thing that prevents people from seeking help or, being able to reach out in whichever way, is that stigma.
Yeah.
For me, I got really, really good at hiding my pain and hiding, my scars or, my wounds or whatever, to the point where, honestly, no one knew what was actually going on with me. And I don't think anyone should get to a point that they could do that, because it's not fair to that person whatsoever. But it also makes it harder for, a counselor or a teacher or a parent to see those warning signs.
Yeah.
And that's where it is tricky. But I think if we can somehow actually break that stigma, which is one of my biggest, roles. I want to be that person that helps break those stereotypes, the stigma around mental health and around a lot of other things. Because once that's gone, things will be easier for everyone.
Well, and what a perfect way to end talking about stigma and breaking stigma. So I want to thank my guest, Justice, for being on the show today and sharing insights on how NCSS services and supports can make a difference. The first step, though, is making the call to NCSS. I also want to thank you, the viewer, for spending time with us again this month. You can learn about all of the NCSS programs and services by logging on to ncssinc.org. I'm Joe Halco, and I'll be back next month with another episode of NCSS Here for You.